I am going to address the topic of Christmas and versus holiness. Why would I consider that Christmas is not the same as holiness? I can tell you in a few statements, and you'll see why. And it's so easy because you need a Bible to see it, okay, and to believe it, okay. All right, first one. Are you a holy person? How do you know? Do you have hatred in your heart towards someone else? Towards people who are convicted of biblical things? Things like that. All right. If you have hatred in your heart towards someone, something isn't quite going right. You probably still, you're missing an element of holiness, basically. This is the first key indicator that you are not attached to the vine. You're simply not. You don't like to obey him. You don't like to obey his holiness. You obey other things, okay? The vine, which is Christ, and we are the branches, okay? Christ never referred to himself as an evergreen tree. He referenced himself as a vine, okay? The paganized version of Jesus says that the Christmas tree somehow represents everlasting life. Now, granted, I realize that the Bible itself does mention various types of trees. Oak trees and things like that, okay? I'll let you look up what types of trees are mentioned in the Bible, but there are various trees and plants mentioned in the Bible. He specifically decided to reference himself as a vine, okay? Not as an evergreen tree. Unusually, there's probably a reason why he didn't want to reference himself that way. Okay? Jesus said in John 15:4, "Abide in me and I in you. As the branch cannot bear fruit of itself, except it abide in the vine. No more can ye, except ye abide in me." And 5, "I am the vine, ye are the branches. He that abideth in me, and I in him, the same bringeth forth much fruit. For without me ye can do nothing." What is he talking about, the nothingness? Yes, there are people that do other things in this life without him. There are many people that commit all sorts of evil things, evil acts, basically. Obviously they're doing something, it's just that they're not doing good things for humanity or for others or for God himself. The nothing he's referring to is holiness. You are going to do bad things without him, automatically. We're just not going to be able to function appropriately. We aren't going to be able to get along with anybody. We're going to have hatred in our hearts without him. Okay? What is the fruit that God chose for his people to produce? Simple. Holiness to him. He is one and comes to us through his only Son. God is one, okay? And he comes to us through his only Son. One Son. Holiness can only come through one man. Him. That's it. No one else. Not even Paul could accomplish that. Because Saul was a terrorist when he was a terrorist, and then he changed his name to Paul. So only one man could possibly give us a holiness, okay? Even other Jewish people that have been good in various ways, Nobel laureates and all those sorts of things, okay? It's only him. Just him, okay? There are not multiple denominations of him, so to speak, just one vine which holds the branches, okay? Do you know if you are truly in the vine? And how can you tell? There's various indicators of that, and it shows. If your life is producing yucky stuff, and you're doing yucky stuff, and you want to go encourage people to do yucky stuff, unholy, unrighteous, bondage, filth, you probably aren't in the vine. But if you're encouraging people to live good lives, to overcome their burdens, to bear another person's burdens, things like that, you're probably paying attention to the vine. You're clinging to the vine, alright? Many people believe Christmas is a Christian holiday because people talk about Christ's birth. The media does this, the commercialized businesses do this, things of that sort. Okay? It talks about it in books, things like that. It's all over the place. They've called it Christian for a long time. But actually, it is not even close to a Christian holiday. It's a recreation of a pagan holiday. I don't know if I'm going to get all the details of that, but you can sure look it up. Some Christians even know this, okay? They speak about it on the internet, and There are various actual books about this condition. Historical books, American history books that show that Christmas decorations were not allowed because they were too pagan at one time. Okay? What would you do if you learned the Mayan calendar and started celebrating Mayan holidays and calling them Christian? Do you think that God wants you to do that? I mean, the Mayans also had a different type of religion. They did human sacrifices. Do you think that we should do that too? Go back to Mayan traditions? I don't think so. The same thing as with the pagan things. You can Christianize anything pagan or heathen, and it still will not make God feel like you understand him, like you want to listen to him, like you actually want to have the good godly fruit. Okay? They have a calendar too. It is based upon the cycles of Venus. If you look it up, it's very interesting. There's a certain number of years cycle, like 5 years or 8 years or something like that. The Venus goes through the same cycles over and over again. Okay? Mexicans or Mashiachans in the Hebrew tongue, and Mashiach is referred to as the Messiah. Okay? They are not fools. God made them that way. God made them know things. Mind you, or they never would have developed their calendar. You know, there was a reason why they had the calendar the way it was developed. And when it comes to Christmas holidays, it's based off a pagan calendar. And when you really read the Bible, there's a different type of calendar. It's more of a lunar, solar type calendar. Of course, the original calendar that was used in Jesus' day and before that is not really truly currently used. You can sort of see where it is. There have been different people that have attempted to recreate it. I've even tried it myself. You can look at my own book or explained what it is. You can look at my book on Amazon called Biblical Heavenly Signs by Laura Spildy. You can find that book, study that. Anyway, I'm just saying that if there was no deity that was really truly holy in the Mayan calendar, neither is there any deity that's truly holy in a Gregorian calendar, which aligns with December 25th. Okay? And the Mayan calendar is equally as, it calculates just as perfectly as our Gregorian calendar. Okay? So there's no deity in the original pagan holidays of Christmas, or even of whatever holidays the Mayans have celebrated. I'm not going to look up all those information about what the Mayans used to do, but you go ahead and look them up, okay? The topic of Jesus' birth only covers about 0.1% of the entire Bible, or only 1% of the New Testament itself. Yes, only 2 chapters. Only 2. Besides the ancestry and how his ancestry came along. He says he was the king of David. Now, King David is spoken of more readily in the Bible than Jesus' birth. So what does that tell you? He is the king of the Jews. David was the king of the Jews at the cross. So that is more important, the fact that he is king of the Jews on the cross. Okay? Yes, a baby in general cannot redeem men from sin and make men holy. There's many different things about that. I'll talk about that in a little bit. Being born of a virgin is important, but being a baby isn't good enough in God's eyes because many Israelites committed mass murder of babies. Okay? A baby cannot reason. They're still kind of in their foolish state. Okay? They're extremely needy. I mean, Jesus was still needy of the Father's love until when he was on the cross. But a baby is a baby. And basically there have been many manipulative things that people have done in various tribes and cultures around the world to babies. So a baby cannot redeem from sin. Okay? Okay? Yes, they're sinless and innocent in their own regard, but they're not fully grown. That's the issue. They didn't go through life and build up love inside their heart. Okay? Basically, because many Israelites committed mass murder of babies, King Herod sacrifices to Baal and so forth, I am sure that many people who call themselves Christian don't like Ray Comfort's 180-degree movie. So, and essentially there's many Christians out there who are busy going to the birth control centers because they believe in that. They don't believe in his full redemption of the womb. Okay, I'm going to continue on. This is the second part. On this Christmas versus holy topic. Okay, Christmas tree Christians. I am referencing people who were never non-resistant biblical observers in our history, or basically, in a general sense, they were never really truly born again. They always had Christmas trees, but they were never truly born again and really truly redeemed. Christmas tree Christians have been known through our history to commit acts of genocide. They do it through governmental means. They support governmental actions that are opposed to certain groups of people, including Jewish people. Jesus is Jewish in general, and they committed acts against him too. Anyway, they did it to the indigenous populations, like in the Trail of Tears. They did it in the Civil War. They did it in cases where they didn't want the Bible in schools. They did it to enforce their religious conviction on others. There have been various ways that Jewish people have been persecuted under Christmas tree Christian convictions and beliefs, and so forth. In some general sense, it almost looks like Christmas tree Christians are very similar to Muslims in some ways, if you really think about it. If you really want to look at it that way. It really seems like it, if you compare it to how the Jewish people were treated anyway. In the process of enforcing Christmas tree traditions, children have been, well, you fill in the blank. There have been children that had all sorts of evil stuff done to them. I'm not just talking about the general population where there's some yucky people here and there. I'm talking about actual priests and pastors and teachers in these certain sort of Christian boarding schools that were not really truly Christian. They were Christmas tree tradition schools where they were forcing things on indigenous populations, and the children had all these bad things done to them. As far as I know, I read through the Bible. Turns out these people were never Christian to begin with because they were doing such bad things to children. Okay, young children. Just here's where they draw the line in the sand on this issue. Now, I know that not everybody who has a Christmas tree and does these little things with their grandmother on the holidays is out there to hate other people or to build a kingdom of hatred. It just depends on what situation you look at it. It's like having a bouquet of flowers in your house, okay? A tree in general is neutral. There's different ways that people decorate trees, different ways that people arrange bouquets of flowers. Those are just general decorations, okay? However, if you value the tree more than the people, and if you actually do put presents under a tree, it kind of leads me to believe that you still believe in the pagan beliefs. If you just have a tree that looks pretty, and you've decorated it, and you just leave it there, I don't think that has anything negative with that. It's the fact that you want to do the traditional things is going to show who you are, and it'll show you that you still believe in your pagan ancestry conditions. So here's where I draw the line in the sand in this issue. Yes, there are Christmas tree traditions that have been passed down. They keep going. It's no different than having a powwow in some ways. Now, I've never seen anybody perform a human sacrifice at a powwow, but I'm sure there were some pretty ugly tribes out there that were pretty vicious, and they needed the gospel. So, essentially, Christmas tree traditions can go one way or the other. They do not present the gospel in general. It's a bouquet of flowers. A bouquet of flowers does not present the gospel. That's what people really need to understand. And anyway, because of that, you build up this beautiful arrangement on your home or your church. And some of these churches, even Catholic or Catholic-based Protestant ones, do a better job at ensuring that the people who attend the church hear at least some of the Bible and embrace the words and stories within the rest of the Bible. So the gospel itself, the other stories like Jesus walking on the water and Jesus healing the blind man and doing things like that, those, even in those Christmas tree churches, you can still hear more gospel in some of those churches than in places where they are totally against everything Christmas. So, and they're building up they're building up a community, really. It's not about the trees and the decorations. It's about building up the community and centering them on the gospel. So I can't really consider that everything that a person does on a Christmas holiday is bad. It's just that they need to recognize that the gospel has more value than the decorations and the traditions. Okay? Love can and does still exist, no matter what traditions family members celebrate. Really, it does. Traditions in general are not the evil thing. Jesus went to different traditional things according to Jewish traditions. Okay? Some have even told me that things like the Feast of Tabernacles is somewhat of an arrangement based off of the pagan traditions in other Middle Eastern cultures. Some people have considered that is the case, and that's mentioned in the Bible, the Feast of Tabernacles. And that's just really unusual because some people have really studied the Bible and they determined that Jesus was born during the Feast of Tabernacles. Okay? So these traditions are not always the are not always the bad guy. It is the heart of what's going on. Love can and still does exist no matter what traditions family members celebrate. However, if a person is doing a tradition like a Christmas tree, and on the Christmas tree, at the top of the Christmas tree, is something very evil in nature, a symbol that is very evil and have been used for evil things, like a swastika thing, or something just demonic, or a skeleton head, or something just really evil. There is no love in doing that and pushing that. And in fact, some of the symbols that are used in traditional Christian ways, like the balls of the tree and other things, are supposedly symbolic of corrupt things that went on in paganism. Sexual impurity things. In paganism, they did some sexual impurity things around these trees. Okay, so gotta be really considerate. Maybe you don't want a Christmas tree in your house. That's fine. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. You're not wrong. Nobody's wrong. Just have Christmas carols. You don't need a tree to be a Christian. You really don't. I've seen it. I've heard of it. I know people that do it that way, and it's a good thing. Holiness is the reason for the season and the conditions of conviction in people. That's all. Simple as that. Holiness, holiness, holiness. What's the title of your Bible? Holy Bible. Okay? It's about holiness. Okay? There are other times of the year where you go over to your relative's house, and if you're a little girl, you know, the yucky stuff that people have done in the domestic situation, you know. If the household is holy, they'll treat a young girl like a good person. They'll treat her appropriately. If the household is not holy, they will treat a young girl inappropriately. It's basically the simplest explanation of what it means to be holy, as far as I'm concerned. Okay? So holiness is the value that we need, all in all. Okay? It's not about the traditions, it's about the holiness. Okay. In summary, all in all, ensure that you are in the vine. Make sure that you love the Gospels. Make sure that you love the first 5 books of the Bible. Make sure that you embrace the last 5 books of the Bible. If you are not into that, you probably are not in the vine. If you still feel like you have hatred in your heart, you are not in the vine. Do not assume that just putting a star on a Christmas tree or watching It's a Wonderful Life will make your life better and give you that abundant life that Jesus is talking about. No. Consider the little things, the everyday things. These are more valuable than his birth, though his birth is essential to this condition of the gospel. And yes, women have given birth, virgins and all sorts of different conditions of giving birth, and the children don't turn out holy. So the only way to give a child freedom from their own bondage is not through his birth, but through his resurrection glory. All right? And I'm going to leave you with that. And have a good day, and consider wisely your traditions. Thank you. Bye.